Thanking you for coming to Capitol Hill. We've been anticipating your arrival. My chief of staff has been calling me throughout the morning to let me know the progress of the tour, and finally you are here. And so welcome. This is the very building that my office is housed. I'm up on the 3rd floor, and maybe you can get a chance to come by before we leave. I'm told that we've got to be out of the room by 10, so I'm going to talk real fast and try to get through this as quickly as we can. We want to talk about the Voting Rights Act. So let's start at the very beginning. In 1965, actually in December of 1964, Dr. King went to President Johnson and said, "Mr. President, we need a Voting Rights Act." And President Johnson told him that I know you do. I understand, being from the South, I understand that African Americans are having difficulty registering to vote and voting in the South. And I will do what I can to help get a Voting Rights Act. But we can't do it right now. We just got the Civil Rights Bill passed a few months ago, and President Kennedy was assassinated, and the country's going through a real turmoil right now, and that will come later. Dr. King expressed his disappointment and said to the President, "Mr. President, you don't understand, sir. African Americans in North Carolina, and South Carolina, and Georgia, and throughout the Deep South are not able to register to vote and not able to have their vote counted effectively, and we need a Voting Rights Act." And President Johnson said, "Well, it's not going to happen, at least right now." And Dr. King went back home and went to Selma, Alabama, and began a brand new movement called the Voting Rights Movement. Don't confuse that with the Civil Rights Movement. That was in 61, 2, 3, and 4, when Dr. King started the Voting Rights Movement. Selma to Montgomery was a very difficult movement. We had the Bloody Sunday. We had Jimmy Lee Jackson getting killed because of insults to his mother and a lot of other atrocities. And so at the end of the day, President Johnson was embarrassed about all of the violence in Selma and decided to go on national television on March 15, 1965. And he changed his mind and said, "We're going to have a Voting Rights Act, and we're going to have it now." President Johnson realized that it would probably result in him only having one full term in the White House. He knew that he would suffer immeasurably from his Southern friends, but he thought it was the right thing to do. So President Johnson crafted and supported, and if any of you have been to New York lately, I hope you went to see the play LBJ All the Way. I saw it last weekend. If you haven't, please go there and see. It's a full depiction of how President Johnson used his power as president to demand action from the Congress. And so the Voting Rights Act was debated, and it was filibustered, and Dr. Barber tells us all the time, it was filibustered by Southern senators, Democratic senators, who tried to stop the Voting Rights Bill from being enacted, but it was finally enacted on August 6, 1965. Here's what the law does. And as policymakers, as NAACP leaders, you need to know this. It does a whole lot of stuff, but since we're compressed for time, I'll tell you 3 things that the bill does. Number 1, it does away with the literacy test. In 1900, the North Carolina legislature enacted a literacy test which says you've got to read and write in order to register to vote, and you've got to satisfy the registrar. And for the most part, African Americans were not able to meet the test and therefore could not participate in the political process. And so the first thing the 65 bill did was to eliminate the literacy test as a prerequisite to vote. County was one of those. Wayne County. Nine. So we have written language in the bill that will lower the threshold for getting an injunction. And now the judge would only have to balance the interests of the parties instead of requiring Earlene Palmer to prove that she's going to win the case when it goes to court. That's a big change. Number two, there is now going to change to what we call opt-in. Opt-in means that if a judge finds under a Section 2 case that you have violated the Voting Rights Act, the judge doesn't have the authority to opt in the state for preclearance unless, and I'm using Earlene as an example, unless Earlene has proven that Winston-Salem acted intentionally. So in order to opt in the state, Earlene would have had to prove intentional discrimination. And if she only proved discriminatory result, then the judge wouldn't have the authority to opt in Forsyth County. So in the bill, it gives judges the authority as a remedy to opt in whenever there has been a proven violation. That's a good thing. Number three.